Between 1854 and 1929, over 250,000 children were shipped across America on trains, from New York to the Midwest, from overcrowded cities to newly built towns. They called them the orphan trains. They called it charity. They called it hope. But the real story has no happy ending because the numbers don't add up. The records are incomplete. The backgrounds of the children are missing. Entire trains full of boys and girls, no parents, no history, no explanation. And this wasn't just America. It was Australia. It was Canada. It was Britain. An entire generation of children, uprooted and scattered, almost like someone was trying to repopulate a world that had been emptied. This isn't just an adoption story, it's a clue to a global reset they buried under the name of charity. Let's start with the basics, the official story. After the Industrial Revolution, cities like New York and Boston were overwhelmed with orphans due to poverty, disease, and crime. Philanthropic groups stepped in, rounded up these orphans, and shipped them westwards to be placed with rural families. It was called the Orphan Train Movement. Sounds noble. Until you realize many orphans were very young, some toddlers, some barely old enough to speak. Very few verifiable death records exist for the supposed parents. Children were auctioned at train stations to strangers, often with no oversight or follow-up. Entire batches of children came with no documentation whatsoever, and it wasn't isolated. At the same time, Britain was shipping thousands of orphans to Canada and Australia. The U.S. was relocating Native American children through boarding schools. Australia began a child migrant scheme with similarly vague records, a global pattern of children being moved without history, without explanation. Where did they come from? Some theories suggest massive depopulation events following a global disaster like the Mudflood, the collapse of entire Tartarian cities leaving behind orphaned children, children from families deemed undesirable by the emerging new order, a deliberate wiping of generational memory, creating a new citizenry without ties to the old world. If Tartaria was real, if entire regions were wiped clean, if old cities were buried under mud and fire, what would be left? Buildings and children. Look deeper at the photos. Children posed in uniform lines, eerily similar to military formations, blank expressions, haunted eyes. No family heirlooms, no birth certificates, no documented lineage. It's almost as if these children weren't just relocated. They were reassigned, given new names, new histories, new purposes. They would grow up in the new world, loyal to the new system, with no memory of what came before, a reset generation. And what about the missing adults? Where were all the supposed parents? The orphans supposedly came from overcrowded cities, yet census records from the time show suspicious population drops, not spikes. In cities like New York, Philadelphia, Boston, the numbers fluctuate wildly between decades, often without corresponding death records. Was there a plague, a war, a disaster, or something far more organized? Something no one wrote about, something scrubbed from the official record. The orphan trains didn't save a generation. They reprogrammed it. They redistributed human assets after a collapse. They seeded the new world with children who had no past, no roots, and no way to question the story they were told. And today, most people have never even heard of it, because a real reset doesn't leave obvious scars. It leaves missing pages, missing cities, missing people, and trains full of children heading west into a future built on the ashes of a forgotten empire. Next time on Beyond Official Records, massive star-shaped forts, impossible engineering, and a purpose they never taught in school. The star forts of Tartaria, ancient energy grids or forgotten weapons. Coming soon.